Yes! Oh, it is! It is! A Tuesday episode, a terrible Take Tuesday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am your host, Alex Donno. We also have Sean Stanley and Manny Chang in the back. Going to be a big show today, my friends, as we inch closer to the start of the NFL season. I don't have a whole lot to say today about what happened to the Miami Hurricanes this past Saturday. We're going to try and look forward a little bit more than we look back. Going to have a couple of great guests on the show today. Tuesday staple, Brady Hawk from the 5 Reasons Sports Network is going to join us to talk some basketball at 12:15. 12:40, Louis D. Sung, also from 5 Reasons Sports, who covers the Miami Dolphins like a champ. He is going to join us to get ready for week one. The depth chart is out for week one for Miami. We'll talk a lot about that. I want to talk about BetUS. Make sure you are supporting our great sponsors here on Donno Daily, and BetUS is the official sports book. Guys, if you were ever looking for a time to sign up and have fun betting with us all season, this is obviously the week to do it. We're 2 days away from the start of the NFL season. We're 5 days away from the first NFL Sunday. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for a 125% bonus if you use our code when you make your first deposit, 5RSN125. You can see it on the screen, a 125% sign-up bonus with our code. If you sign up with crypto, you get a 200% sign-up bonus. Whether you use credit card or crypto, we have your hookup and bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. We are also brought to you by the great folks at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. And guys, speaking of football season, make this your spot for college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays. You get those 5 for $15 buckets, ice cold beer, 5 for $15. It is so good. They've got 2 for 1 happy hour all day, every day. That never ends at the Quarterdeck. The seafood is delicious, my friends, at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. It is right out of the ocean. I love their sushi. I love to build my own poke bowl. The sandwiches are elite. The baby back ribs are meat falls off the bone. They are so good. If you want to find the location nearest to you and peep their menu before you go, visit quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And we already, right out of the gates, we got our guy Ninja Viking saying, terrible take. All of us thinking we had a shot against Bama. Oh, and hi, Donno. Hello, Ninja Viking. I still put a lot of that on coaching and play calling. Miami was coaching scared. Not to say they would have won the game, but take some shots. I think that was my biggest regret, was the fact that they left so much on the field. They didn't open up the play calling until they were down 27-0, which was an absolute waste. If Rhett Lashley had coached with some more balls, Miami may have been able to score more than one touchdown in that game. Still wouldn't have won the game, but my biggest regret from Miami-Bama is I thought they left so much on the field because they coached scared, didn't bring enough of a pass rush, they were too conservative, didn't throw the football enough until they were down 27-0. So that is my regret. Let me bring in Sean Stanley, because I already see Sean there, who broadcasts literally from the closet. You can see the Don Shula football behind his head. And what is that hat you're wearing, Sean? You were at Monday Night Raw last night. Is that some wrestling paraphernalia?
Of course it is. It's RK Bro. Riddle.
I don't know who that is.
Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. That's
so RK Bro is multiple people. Okay.
Yes, it's RKO, which is Randy Orton, and Bro, which is Riddle. They put it together, and as wrestling always does, they mush it together, and we get RK Bro.
How was the show last night? I didn't watch a second of it, but I did see you tweeted out a bunch of photos, and like I nearly had to mute you last night because you were tweeting so much. So did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. It was a good show. A lot of replays and stuff, but some new stuff. So it was a better Raw than what has been on TV recently.
Okay, fair enough. Now stick with me here because I want to go through the Dolphins depth chart here for New England on Sunday. I've been waiting for this for so long. I've been waiting for this season opener. By the way, hello, Rafa in Miami, who said he was too old to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. No illusions. We just hoping for a good showing. We did not get that. But we move ahead. With the Hurricanes, I want to move ahead to Appalachian State. With the Dolphins, obviously, we only have a direction to go in, which is ahead, because they've not played a regular season game yet this season. So I'm looking at the depth chart, and guys, I wouldn't overreact to any of this. because Brian Flores, remember who he learned from. He learned from the master of misdirection, and that's Bill Belichick. But there were a couple things on this depth chart that have people talking and have people thinking. Now you go to, they have 3 wide receiver spots in their starting 11. The first of those, no surprise whatsoever, starting wide receiver spot. Devontae Parker is the number 1. Preston Williams backing him up. Obviously, you expect to see DVP as a starter. Second wide receiver spot. How about that? Jalen Waddle, my guy, is starting. I love that. Jalen Waddle starting. Albert Wilson backing him up. Third starting wide receiver spot. This has people talking. I know people, even people within this own network, and I'm talking about my guy Juan Cardona, who will not even refer to this gentleman by his Christian name. He refers to him by his jersey number. He just refers to him as 19. I don't mind saying his name because he seems like a nice fellow. Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant listed in a starting wide receiver spot with Mac Hollins backing him up. Now, he's also starting kick returner and starting punt returner. So basically, Jakeem Grant, he is the Thanos of this roster. He is everywhere. He is inevitable. He is in all places at all times, starting kick returner, starting punt returner, starting wide receiver. Now, I'm not going to take him being a starting wide receiver too seriously. He might line up on the first snap, but guys, preseason and training camp, we saw more as a receiver from Albert Wilson than we did from Jakeem Grant. And Mac Hollins, who's listed as Jakeem's backup, balled. I mean, Mac Hollins, you know, if not for the great preseason and training camp he had, Sean, Mac Hollins may not have even made this team, but he was so good that he played himself uncuttable. So even though Jakeem Grant is listed as a starter, I would gamble, Sean, that we're going to see more snaps for Hollins and more snaps for Albert Wilson than we see from Jakeem Grant.
Yeah, to me, that lineup right there, if that is the lineup that starts and they do the 3 receivers with Jakeem Grant, they're just sending everybody as fast as they can down the field and throwing the ball up for. They're going college style in a way. Because, again, it's just the speed. But, again, like everybody's saying, they're saying in the chat is, and it's Bishop Sycamore's finest in the chat. I mean, this is Bishop Sycamore's finest. We got to –
what a username.
Mind games with New England. And, again, like you said, he learned from Belichick. It's all the Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah, and
got people talking, right? Because he threw 19 out there. Now everybody's talking about the Dolphins, right? And they're not talking about Tua. They're talking about something else right now.
Right, exactly. And that was my theory as to why Tim Tebow was a Jacksonville Jaguar for training camp, because nobody was talking about Trevor Lawrence. Right now everyone's talking about 19 being a starting wide receiver. Bishop Sycamore's finest also writes, starting lineup means nothing. It's snap percentage that matters. Bingo, absolutely. It you know, I know that maybe players take pride in being a starter, although that, to me, that matters less unless you're the quarterback. If you're the quarterback, being a starter matters. But, you know, for any other position, being a starter, I think matters a lot less in that sport than it does in, say, the NBA. And huge thank you, Miami Corey, for the super chat. I appreciate it. I love everything about Miami Corey. He's got a Florida Panthers avatar. I'm a big hockey fan. I cannot wait to start talking more hockey as the season gets closer. And he's obviously a Miami Dolphins fan. So we appreciate you, sir. Fins up. Welcome into the chat, Martina Davies. Welcome in Ray Grullon, who says, howdy, Donno, everyone. I hope the best medicine for the negative pundits trashing our Fins. Ignore them. Go Fins. Now, Ray's slacking a little bit because he's usually one of the first 2 people in. And we didn't hear from Ray until 9 minutes into the show, which was positively shocking. 38 days until Panthers hockey returns. I like that. So, okay. Ted, I was about to call him Ted Ginn. The whole number 19 thing. It plays games with my mind.
Listen.
Freudian slip.
As much as 19. He had family.
Jakeem Grant being in the starting lineup got a lot of people talking. Let's look at the other offensive starters. You know, I mentioned the other 2 wide receiver spots, so we'll go left tackle. Now, Austin Jackson listed as a starter. Oh, and hello, Adriano. Hello, sir. Austin Jackson listed as a starter. Yeah. We don't know if he'll be cleared to play for COVID. So really the guy you look at there is the number 2, and listed right behind him as the backup left tackle, a guy who I suspect will start, is Greg Little. This is put up or shut up for Greg Little. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why the Carolina Panthers, after drafting this guy 37th overall a couple of years ago, discarded him like an old pair of socks right? Because they didn't think he was good enough. And if they hadn't traded him to Miami for a 7th round pick, they probably would have cut him. Like that was the word on the street, that if they didn't trade him for a late round pick, he wouldn't have made the roster anyway. He would have been a free agent. Now, at the same time, I'm hoping the wake-up call of essentially getting fired from your previous employer, because that's basically what Carolina did with him. I'm hoping the wake-up call from that and the change of scenery makes Little, who's very talented, realize that he's not going to get too many more chances in this league. NFL stands for not for long, because I know he has the physical ability. Miami has had some swings and misses on these low-risk moves they've made for certain offensive linemen. Little, he impressed me in training camp once he arrived. He impressed me, some of the work I saw him doing in preseason. I think this guy is fixable. I think he is serviceable. And Austin Jackson, meanwhile, I mean, if he doesn't play, it's going to be due to COVID, not performance. But his performance has not wowed me in training camp and in preseason. So I would not mind. Maybe New England is not the ideal game for that, but I would not mind seeing what Greg Little could do. Left guard, Solomon Kinley, the number 1. Robert Jones, the number 2 center. Michael Dieter, who earned it during camp, he's the starter. Greg Mance, number 2. Right guard, Robert Hunt, the number 1. Robert Jones, number 2. Right tackle, Jesse Davis, the number 1. Liam Eichenberg, the number 2. I'd like to see if he can rise higher in that depth chart throughout the year. Tight end, no surprise here. Mike Gesicki, then Adam Shaheen, who is not going to play for COVID, but he is listed 2 on the depth chart. Durham Smythe 3, and then Kathan Carter or Hunter Long. Hunter Long, I hope to see rise up the depth chart. Running backs, it's Gaskin, then Brown at number 2, then Salvon Ahmed at number 3. Quarterback, wait for it. Tua Tagovailoa. Oh,
hey,
he's the number 1 quarterback.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
Oh, let me answer this question for my guy, Adriano. Thoughts on how much of an instant impact Waddle will have to start the season? Oh, because he drafted him in fantasy football. I think all signs are pointing to being bullish on Waddle. And not only is he a starter, I think the snap count is going to be high for him. He looked good in camp, and he featured pretty prominently in preseason. I think it was telling that in Miami's second preseason game, when they took on the Atlanta Falcons, which is when all the starters played, including Tua, for a full half, Waddle was getting targeted a ton. So you can see the chemistry that those guys built together at Alabama, Tua and Waddle. It's going to be there, continuing here, into the Miami Dolphins. So honestly, I think Jalen Waddle's going to have a really good rookie season. Something we talked about a few weeks ago, like in the early days of camp, was which rookie we thought would have the biggest impact this year, because Javon Holland, the safety, balled out in camp. Jalen Phillips, I have high expectations for him, and then Jalen Waddle. And like a couple weeks ago, like a month ago, maybe we had this conversation. I thought that Javon Holland would have the biggest impact as a rookie, but the stock has been rising for Jalen Waddle, and I think that's going to be the biggest impact rookie. So yeah, to Adriano, if you drafted him in fantasy, I mean, I'm assuming that wasn't your first receiver taken, but if this was like your 3rd receiver, I think you're going to be eating good. Do you agree with that, Sean?
Yeah, no, and also I think the familiarity with Tua and Waddle, I think that connection could probably, especially early on, could become the comfort blanket for Tua too. If the line doesn't give him a lot of time, that might be where he's heading a lot of the time, over to Waddle.
Let me go through, and Brady Hawk is going to hop on with us here in a couple of minutes, but let me go through the defense. Oh, so at the first defensive end spot, you've got Emmanuel Ogbah, who had a monster year last year, backed up by Adam Butler. Nose tackle, Raekwon Davis, backed up by John Jenkins. The other defensive end spot, you've got Christian Wilkins, backed up by Zach Sealer. Let's go through 3 linebacker spots. Jerome Baker, backed up by Duke Riley. Elandon Roberts, the thumper, backed up by Sam Egwavon, who had a pretty monster preseason. He had in that Falcons game, the guy had like 1,000 tackles and 4 sacks. It was crazy.
He ripped up ACLs. Doing good.
Then linebacker 3, because you guys are wondering, oh, Donno, where's Jalen Phillips? So linebacker 3, Andrew Van Ginkel is the number 1, backed up by Brennan Scarlett, and then Jalen Phillips 3rd on that depth chart. This is more of that gamesmanship from Flo, because I think this coaching staff is really high on Jalen Phillips, and I think he's going to play a lot more and feature a lot more prominently than this depth chart would indicate. He's had health issues that he's been working through, but I know if healthy, this coaching staff likes him a lot, and I like Jalen Phillips a lot. So don't be discouraged by that. I mean, you used your late first round pick or a mid first round pick on this guy. Oh my God, is he having trouble? Is he not going to make it? I see the Dolphins do this with some of the rookies. It's like they make them earn their way up through the depth chart. So I wouldn't worry about Jalen Phillips. I think he's going to feature prominently. Then at nickel cornerback, you've got Justin Coleman backed up by Elijah Campbell and Jamal Perry. The boundary cornerbacks, Byron Jones holding down a spot. No surprise there, backed up by Noah Igbenogany. I think he needs to have a good season because he's been a little shaky. Cornerback number 2, you've got Xavier Howard backed up by Nick Needham, who's had a good camp, and Trill Williams, who has as well. Free safety, Justin McCourty backed up by Javon Holland, who, again, really good preseason and training camp. Strong safety, it's Eric Rowe, the veteran, backed up by Brandon Jones. And Clayton, whose last name I always struggle to pronounce, so I'll leave that one on the table there. We'll circle back to Dolphins. We are going to be joined at about 12:40 by Louis D. Sung, who covers the Dolphins here for 5 Reasons Sports. And between our two guests today, a little after 12:30, we're going to have our Terrible Take Tuesday segment. So we're going to air out some terrible takes. But there is nothing terrible about our next guest, who is prolific, covers the Miami Heat at such a high level for 5 Reasons Sports. Brady Hawk joins us here as he does every Tuesday. Brady, good afternoon to you, sir. And obviously, I know you are a king when it comes to basketball coverage. Are you a football fan as well? Are you excited for the NFL this weekend?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm more of a basketball guy, 100%. But football, of course, I like watching it. I'm not more of a covering it, but I like watching it. I like seeing the Dolphins do good. So we'll see what happens. And obviously, fantasy football is always a fun time of year.
How many leagues you do?
Always one. I love.
Oh, okay. Good man.
You have that a thing where you have a guy you're facing and you have him on your team, and you're rooting against him and for him. Like I just want one team. You have your guys. And you kind of just go forward.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, honestly, there's some years when I do just one league, and it's kind of enjoyable because you put your heart and soul into it. But then if your team sucks, it's kind of disappointing because you don't have like other teams to focus on. But then at the same time, some years I'll do like 7 leagues. And then I can't, focus on any of them, and I end up sucking in all of them. So you probably have the right approach. And, of course, Brady Hawk is always very popular when he joins us. As Ray points out, Brady Hawk is in the house, Brady Hawk 305 on Twitter. So, Brady, last time we talked, the Heat had, used one of their two-way spots. Are we still waiting on the other two-way? What's going to happen there?
Yeah, I think we know what position they're going after. Like, it feels like it's pretty much a lock. They got Marcus Garrett, obviously DeJon Jarreau went in another direction. He went to Indiana. He was the second best player on that team. It seemed like he was going to be a two-way guy, but looking at it in hindsight, it probably wasn't the worst thing in the world for him to go over there, because do you want both of your two-ways being guys that basically do the same thing, 2 defensive guards, limited offensively, aren't great shooters? It was like they were going to be forced into it, but it wasn't the best possibility. Now, they signed Omer Yurtseven to a regular contract. I don't think it's necessary to go for a big. Like, it just feels like their front court is just so heavy with free agency pickups. With obviously they're hoping KZ Okpala can become something in the future, but obviously there's some questions there. The position they're going after is a scoring wing. Like, it just seems like that's the only way they go. If guys go out, 2 ways are going to be used, because if you look at the bottom of the roster, Udonis Haslem isn't jumping in anytime soon. KZ Okpala is just, like I mentioned, you don't really know what's going to happen there. So if guys go down, you're going to want a scoring wing to kind of throw in there. Hopefully he can just be a bucket getter. And top of the list, I think, for Miami, looking at their summer league, they can look around the league if they want to, try to grab somebody that they like. But DJ Stewart is probably at the top of that list, just a guy who can just score at all 3 levels, can get to the rim as a tight handle. Not a great defender, but he can just kind of do things that you need if you're trying to use a plug-and-play guy. And the other guy's RJ Nembhard, who's more, I think, complete at this stage. And honestly, I think most teams are looking for upside. The Heat aren't doing that. Even if they are trying to get a good player, it's always about win now. They're trying to get guys that they can throw in. So RJ Nembhard might be a little bit more of a possibility than DJ Stewart. But we'll kind of find out. I think it's going to be between those 2 guys if they don't go outside the board. But it does seem like it's for sure that they're going after a scorer.
I know our CEO, Ethan Skolnick at 5 Reasons, he's actually told me the last time I had him on that he hopes we actually see more than like the token 1 appearance, 3 minutes from Udonis Haslem. Like, he wouldn't mind seeing UD get utilized a little more. Do you think that might be in the cards? Because I think the playbook just on how Spo uses UD has been out the last few years, that he's just going to be on the team for his moral support. We'll get him in for, 1 appearance just so he can count it as a season on record. Or could we see more this year?
Yeah, I think if there was a year for it to happen, I think it was last year. If you just look at the roster, they had a lot of backcourt depth, probably too much backcourt depth. If you're thinking about the players they had that kind of reiterated among like offensive skill. This year, like I said before, they have a bunch of front court guys. You got Yurtseven, you're going to throw in if guys get hurt. You have Dedman, you have Bam. Obviously, Morris and Tucker you picked up. KZ, like I mentioned, could be a possibility. It just seems like there's just so many people there in the front court spots that I don't think they're going to be forced into using Haslam. If they have to, like at worst case scenario, like it happened last year, there was 8 available players because of COVID and contact tracing. Doesn't seem like that's going to be much of an issue this year, if they're vaccinated and the new rules and everything. But Udonis Haslam, it just seems like is going to be taking up a role, even if some fans may not like it. He's going to be there. He's going to be on the bench. He's going to be talking to guys when they come off the floor. I just can't really see him getting, a bunch of minutes. I think maybe he may have an ejection at some point in the season just to throw him in there, spark something against Philadelphia or probably LA now because they have Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Throw him in there against Dwight. So I think that's going to be his only role. I just can't really see at this point just with the front court depth.
Now, I want to go a little bit deeper on KZ Okpala because he had a very uninspiring summer league, and I get frustrated with the guy. But you can break this down better from a basketball standpoint. How far away is he? And do you have hope that Okpala can actually still become a serviceable rotation guy for Spo?
Yeah, it feels like it's ways away, to be honest. Like, it's just when you watch him play, he has a lot of great defensive tendencies, as we've mentioned. He can run baseline to baseline and press you, as Miami likes. They like guys that are up in your grill. He's not great team defensively. Like, I feel like he needs to improve in that area, kind of knowing where to stand. I think that comes with minutes. But obviously defense is not the question, it's offense. And I just don't see a part of his game that shows you a flash of where he can be effective. The ultimate best case scenario for KZ Okpala is to just nonstop shoot threes in the offseason. Like, I just feel like that's his only role. If he can become a 3-and-D player, he can have a role in the rotation. Like, there's no question about that. At this point, he's tried to be an attacker, and there's no way for him really to be that. When he puts the ball on the floor, he can get to the rim with some elbows thrown around, and then he's not a great finisher. So it just doesn't seem possible in that area. Just the inconsistency from 3 makes you think it's not possible to be a 3-and-D guy. But that's best case scenario. That's the only thing I can really see. So if he works on the 3 and he can at least hit it at a decent clip, I think it's a guy you can plug and play, throw in there, just see what happens. But rotational, it just feels like it is far away.
Brady Hawk is with us here on Donno Daily on 5R Live on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Something that was making headlines yesterday was the Heat picking up the option 22-23 for us. For Tyler Hero. I don't know why that name escaped me. That's an odd one. But that was expected, right? Is there anything surprising about the Heat picking up that option?
No, I think the intriguing thing that they were like the first team to do it out of all the guys in that draft class. No, that was not surprising. I just feel like it's also a confidence thing. I think looking at the basketball side of things, they're going to lock him up either way because even if he doesn't perform at the highest level, which I don't think they're expecting, he's their best asset, even though people don't like talking about their guys as assets. He is their best asset. He's probably one of their only assets at this stage, if you're not cutting Duncan Robinson on the new contract. But it's a confidence thing. I think they got to try to get Tyler Hero rolling early. If we talk about his role off the bench early on in the season, he's going to have something that's pretty simple. It's going to be just score the ball off the bench and don't think about it too much. Like, it's got to be simple. Like Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, it's a lot of inexperienced guys on that bench that he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton, that he's going to have to do some things. And obviously later in the season, as it was reported, on 5 on the floor, Victor Oladipo could be returning by possibly December. When you go to look at that bench, Victor Oladipo and Tyler Hero off the bench, that's a deadly backup backcourt on paper. Like, if you're looking at it, if you could find a pairing for Tyler Hero, Oladipo's probably that guy. He's a defensive guy. You kind of plug the things he doesn't really do, drive to the ball, shot creation, defend. That's the ultimate thing you want from the bench guy. So I think they're preparing Hero to be a very positive player this year. He's going to have a featured role. Obviously, I don't want to just say like it's going to be Victor Oladipo and Hero at all times. There's going to be staggering. He's going to get minutes with Jimmy. He's going to get minutes with Bam. Obviously, Kyle Lowry. He's going to have a role it's going to come down to, like I've said before, catch and shoot. That was a bad area of his game last season that kind of fell off. If he can bring that back, then I think he'll be totally fine and they can move forward.
Now, you threw out the word with Hero, asset, and he is an asset. Your best prediction, put on your tinfoil hat or your predicting hat in 2023. Is he still going to be a member of the Miami Heat, or might he have been dealt by then?
If I had to just predict right now, I would probably say he's still here. Like, I think if we're predicting, my prediction is that he's going to have a really good year where he's a simple role off the bench, 6-man type role that's what this team needs. Like, if you're flipping him for a Bradley Beal that comes available, obviously you do it. I just don't see that as a possibility. But for what's out there and what you're getting back if you were to deal him, I just don't think there's many guys that could do what he does if you're predicting forward to what the next step he's going to take. Like, I feel like I'm reiterating, but he can go off the bench and really take advantage of what he's given this year. Like, if he can do that and just score the ball at a high level, take advantage of the sets that he's being placed in, because he has another thing is he's going to be running with Dwayne Dedmon a lot, which means he's going to have to slow down a bit. When he plays with Bam, it's the lob pass. He's trying to think a lot faster, doing things at a normal speed that most young guys do. Playing with Dwayne Dedmon, Markieff Morris, these guys are going to force him to slow down a bit, and I think that's beneficial as well. It's the reason I think they kind of went that route with the veteran moves to try to benefit him. So we'll kind of see what happens. I think he's gonna be beneficial from there, but I would say 2023, if I'm predicting forward, he would probably still be on the roster.
Joined here by Brady Hawk on Donno Daily. Chris Bosh is going into the Basketball Hall of Fame this weekend. Now, I asked the same question to Alana Tahauer yesterday. I'm curious as to your take. Is it just me, Brady, or does Chris Bosh seem like he's a lot more appreciated now, not only by Heat fans, but by everybody, than he was during the Big Three era? And you grew up on that Big Three era, Brady. I can remember a lot of bitching and moaning about Bosh being soft and not being aggressive enough because people didn't understand his role, quite frankly. They didn't understand floor spacing, but I feel like people have come to understand it now. So is it like the evolution of the league? There's a lot more Chris Bosh types out there, but do you agree he's more appreciated in 2021 than he was in 2012?
Yeah, I think we've seen these Big Three, Big Four teams get put together over the years, and it's not easy to be the sacrifice. Like, we've seen it not work out so many times, and I feel like the more and more you see it, you just kind of respect what Chris Bosh did and taking that step back even at the prime of his career. I feel like another thing is they're just kind of respecting what he did in hindsight because of the way he kind of went out, that he would have been a lot more respected if he would have went on and didn't have the issues that he did with the blood clots, because he had some years in him that he was still going to be an effective player on this Heat team. Like, and I think that's the one question a lot of people have. What would have happened if none of that occurred? Where would this team be right now? It probably could have went another direction. But I think we would be looking at Chris Bosh at even a higher level than we are if that never occurred, because he would be the second option on that team. And you got to see a different level of Chris Bosh. You got to see him the first option in Toronto, the third option in Miami. And then obviously that next era was going to be him as the second option. I feel like that really would have propelled his legacy in a certain degree, but it definitely does feel that way. I think moving on past a couple of years, realizing what he did, I think there's a lot more respect from just nationally. So it definitely is positive that he's getting inducted at this point.
What are you working on this week, Brady? You're always very active on the website. What can people expect from you next?
Yeah, I just did. Latest one is talking about 5 different lineups that, Miami could use, just kind of get creative. I think we're going to see a lot of that, just talking about, we know the starting lineup, we know the closing lineup, we know the bench lineup. Like, I think there's going to be creative lineups thrown in there this season that Eric Spoelstra is going to have fun with. So I'm going to kind of expand on those kind of points of the creativeness that they're going to use.
I love it. Really good stuff as always here from Brady Hawk. Brady, thank you so much, my friend. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, man. Thank you. Always good stuff there from Brady Hawk. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, BradyHawk305, and check out his work at 5reasonsports.com. It is time, my friends, a Tuesday tradition, which even predates my time on Donno Daily. We actually created this back in the Onside Radio days. It is Tuesday. It's time for Terrible Take Tuesday, brought to you by U-Brake Wheel Fix, located in North Miami, South Florida. You can get them whether you live in Dade or Broward. It's right around the corner from you. Mark and his repair and refinishing techs have over 20 years of experience. They are dedicated to providing high-quality repairs for cracked, bent, or damaged rims and wheels. They get the job done quickly, and they get the job done right with a quality guarantee. And they've got 5 stars on every rating service. Google, Yelp, everyone loves the work they've had done at U-Brake Wheel Fix. And guys, most importantly, they love our local sports teams. So the reason why they've been such a great partner at 5 Reasons Sports is they are passionate about your Dolphins and your Heat and your Canes just as much as you and I are. And you can get your wheels customized in Heat, Dolphins, Canes, Inter Miami colors, and much more. You can get your wheels tricked out. They do such a great job. You'll see some of these You Brake jobs driving around town. You'll say, oh my God, that's beautiful Dolphins wheels, pink and black Inter Miami. I wonder where they got that done. The answer is always You Brake Wheel Fix. You can call them at 305-748-0112 or visit them on the web, youbrakewheelfix.com, and let them know you heard about them on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Tell them Donno sent you. So people have already in the chat been referencing a couple of the terrible takes for today. I'm going to go a little bit out of left field, though, for this first one. This tweet from Mick Akers, and this is a very scientific study apparently done by Action Network, where they use Linkfluence and reviewed social media listening data to analyze negative sentiment of teams from the NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, and Major League Soccer. And they have come up with their ranking of the least liked sports teams in the United States. I'm calling shenanigans on a lot of these. Now, okay, I don't know if I would have gone here for apparently the least liked sports team in America are the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll entertain that thought. Raiders are very polarizing. A lot of people don't like their fans. You know, it's one of the more historic NFL franchises. So, okay, I'll give you that. The Las Vegas Raiders, most disliked team in American sports. And the next on the list, the Dallas Stars, who, yeah, they are very disliked in NHL circles. The Arizona Coyotes, I didn't realize people cared that much about them. The Philadelphia 76ers, yes, bravo. You got that one right. When it comes to NBA teams, yes, they belong very high on the list. I'll give you that. The Chicago Bears, the Toronto Maple Leafs probably should be higher. Vancouver Canucks, then the Buffalo Sabres. It seems like the hockey fans are very active. Jazz Santana made the list according to Manny there. Now, here's the crazy thing about this. Guys, you have to go very far down the list to find the Miami Heat. There are 21 teams listed ahead of the Miami Heat in most disliked in America. I'm calling shenanigans on that. There's no way. With the nonsense the media spews about the Heat, with the nonsense that I see fans spewing out, there's no way they're that low. Asking about the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are they? Yeah, they're on the list. They're lower than the Heat, actually. The Dallas Cowboys are disliked by 6.46% of the respondents to that poll. They're near the bottom. Dallas Cowboys should be way higher. Way higher. I know they're a quote-unquote America's team. They have a lot of fans, but usually the teams that have the most fans also have the most haters. So I'm surprised they were very low on this list. I don't even see the New England Patriots on here. The Miami Dolphins, I do not believe are anywhere on this list, but I was surprised by how low the Miami Heat are, that there are actually 21 American sports teams that were ahead of the Miami Heat in hatred. I'm going to call shenanigans on that. Like there's no way the Heat are below some of the other teams that are on there. I demand a recount. Too many hanging chads on that list. I demand another count. All right, now let's get to the terrible take. Truly terrible. Everyone's talking about this in our live chat. Everyone's been talking about this for the last couple of days as Dolphin Nation put this out there on their Twitter account. Peter King listed his AFC predictions, which are the top 7 teams, the playoff teams. He's got the Bills at number 1, the Chiefs at number 2. You're splitting hairs there a little bit. I think the Chiefs are going to be better than the Bills this year because they actually fixed their offensive line, and they were already better than the Bills last year. But to each his own. They're going to be close. He's got the Bills, then the Chiefs, then Tannehill's Titans, who look good this year, the Cleveland Browns at number 4, the New England Patriots at number 5. Are you kidding me? Then he's got the Chargers at number 6 and the Baltimore Ravens, a fine team, at number 7. And then, quote, this is what has Dolphin fans rightfully riled up because Peter King is a hypocrite. He says, quote, I didn't pick the Dolphins to make the playoffs simply because I don't have enough evidence to trust Tua Tagovailoa. Not saying he won't be good. I just haven't seen it. Peter, if you haven't seen it from Tua Tagovailoa, what exactly have you seen from Mac Jones? Can you explain that to me? Like, how can you on one side of your crooked mouth say that I haven't seen enough in Tua to think the Dolphins will make the playoffs, But you completely ignore the fact that the New England Patriots have a rookie quarterback starting from week one, literally zero NFL experience, literally none. Tua dominated 2.5 years at Alabama. Mac Jones dominated just 1 year at Alabama, has not played a single snap in the National Football League. How can you say the reason why you're holding the Dolphins back is because you're unsure about Tua, and you make no mention of the Patriots rookie starting quarterback? And by the way, I think the Dolphins have a better team top to bottom than the New England Patriots, and that includes quarterback. Now, something that you see happening a lot is there's still a Bill Belichick mystique. So even though the Patriots missed the playoffs and had a losing record last year, a lot of people just assume for Belichick that was just a blip on the radar. It's never going to happen again. I believe Brian Flores eventually will earn the sort of benefit of the doubt that Belichick has, because I think Flores is an incredible coach, and he's going to continue to prove that over the next several years. Obviously, he doesn't have the Belichick resume, so Belichick gets a benefit of the doubt that few others get. I just don't see how hypocritical, crooked Peter King can say, I can't possibly put the Dolphins in the playoffs because I'm not sold on their quarterback, but you put the Patriots in as the 5th seed. It doesn't make any sense. Dolphins fans have a right to be upset about this. Now, this one, I'm not going to throw my dude under the bus because he's done nothing wrong here, but I saw this tweet from our colleague. Oh, hold on. Bring up the Canes one. Actually, you know what? Let's do, Sean, sorry, I don't want to throw you for a complete loop. Let's do that one first because it relates to what we were just talking about, the Antoine Staley tweet there. We'll circle back to the David Eversole tweet. But Antoine Staley tweeted out, noted Miami sports hater. Now, actually, no, I don't want to throw Antoine under the bus. He's actually a really good friend of mine, and he joins the show frequently. I love Antoine. It's nothing but love. But Antoine said, my AFC playoff teams are pretty similar to the Good Morning Football panel. Kyle and I agree all the way through. What are your all thoughts? So this is what Kyle Brandt, who I like, picked as the 7 AFC playoff teams. Bills, Titans, Ravens, Chiefs for the top 4 seeds, division winners. So he's not going in order of seeding there. Those are division winners. Then the wild card teams, Browns, Patriots again, Broncos. Ooh, so no Dolphins on that list. In fact, none of the Good Morning Football panel had the Dolphins on their list. Peter Schrager went Bills, Titans, Browns, Chiefs as division winners, Steelers, Ravens, Patriots as wild cards. Michael Robinson went Bills, Titans, Browns, Chiefs. Seems to be a lot of consistency, agreement on the division winners. Wild cards, he went Ravens, Patriots, Chargers. So from Peter King to the entire GMFB crew, nobody thinks the Miami Dolphins are going to make the playoffs this year. You know what? We got them right where they want them. I think I'd rather fly under the radar than above the radar. I believe the Dolphins are a playoff team. All my homies believe the Dolphins are a playoff team. I think I'd rather be in this situation where you can surprise people in a positive way rather than disappoint people. So I'll take it. And the last one I wanted to throw out there, and this is from our colleague, David Eversole, who I don't think he did anything wrong here, but let me explain why I'm putting this as a terrible take. He wrote a story, and I encourage you, if you want to check it out at 5reasonsports.com. Canes coverage, Dolphins coverage, Heat coverage, of course, Panthers coverage. It's a one-stop shop. Inter Miami. 5reasonsports.com has everything. It's time to accept, he writes, where the hashtag Miami Hurricanes stand in the college football hierarchy. And then the title of the story is Accept This as the New Standard for the Miami Hurricanes. And I'll tell you why I included this as a terrible take. Because I refuse to read it. I already got kicked in the balls on Saturday night watching Miami get trounced 44-13 by Alabama. You think I'm going to spend my Tuesday reading what I'm sure is a very rational, well thought out story by David? You think I'm going to spend my Tuesday reading a story where David is going to explain to me that Miami's not won a title in 20 years? Miami hasn't won the ACC since they joined 15 years ago, 16 years ago. They've only won the Coastal once. I can already tell you what's in this story, and as a Hurricanes fan, I do not want to read it. I would rather pretend it's 2001 for the rest of my life. I would rather be Uncle Rico. He had 1982. I've got 2001. I refuse to read a story where he's going to be spending probably 6 or 7 paragraphs, maybe more, I don't know, I didn't read it, explaining to me how Miami no longer is a grade A program, how a private school like Miami can't compete in recruiting with the likes of the Clemsons and the Bamas, the Ohio States, probably even the Florida States, who I don't think Florida State's going to be better than Miami this year, but I did like what I saw from them, and Mackenzie Milton, a great story against Notre Dame, and they have more resources than Miami. So I included that piece as a terrible take only because as a Miami Hurricane fan, even if you may think it's time for me to accept the fact that Miami is no longer in the 1980s, I refuse. I refuse to believe it. I refuse to accept it. There it is. Napoleon Dynamite movie, Uncle Rico. I could throw a football over them mountains. What is that? A laminated poster? Are you going to buy that for me, Sean, for my birthday so that I can be Uncle Rico in peace at my home? My birthday is coming up in a couple weeks. If anyone's looking for gift ideas, go to Amazon or wherever this is. Yeah, Amazon, and buy me this Uncle Rico poster and maybe Photoshop my face on it, because that's basically where I am now. So I completely refuse. You're asking me to accept the fact that the Miami Hurricanes are not a premier program. I refuse to read that piece. I refuse to accept it. I would rather just live the rest of my life pretending it's 2001. All right. It is time to bring in a very good friend of the show. Always love talking Miami Dolphins with this gentleman. Louis D. Sung from 5 Reasons Sports is with us. Good afternoon, Louis. I'm having trouble speaking today for some reason. I think it's because my crypto holdings took just like a massive nosedive today, and I'm half depressed today. So, Louis, you can carry this interview, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Donno, and I'm sorry that you're not feeling good in the place where it counts.
Yeah, exactly. In the wallet. I'm not feeling great today, but we'll get better. These dips are only temporary. So, Louis, I don't know if you caught the tail end of some of the stories on Terrible Take Tuesday, but it's become very trendy for the national analysts to pick the Patriots to make the playoffs, to leave out the Miami Dolphins. People seem to be a lot higher on Mac Jones, who's done nothing in the NFL, more than Tua Tagovailoa. What do you like? Why have the Patriots suddenly become a flavor of the week where, like, Mac Jones a month ago, people thought, oh, I don't know when this guy's going to be ready to go. Now, all of a sudden, Mac Jones is Tom Brady 2.0.
I mean, it's the New England mythos, right? For the past 2 decades, they've pretty much owned the AFC East with a few notable exceptions here and there, but it's been their division. And now that they don't have Tom Brady to rely on anymore, they're looking for any which way that they can say that, oh, no, wait, we've got our guy again. Mac Jones is not a bad quarterback. Let's not pretend that he's a bad quarterback or that his career won't be good. But the thing about it is that you look at how many parallels you have to Tom Brady. Look, his body type, it was the same as Tom Brady when he came out of college. They both had this flabby, not very impressive, looks kind of like me.
Same with me, by the way, and I did not go on to be a 7-time Super Bowl winner.
No, exactly. So they had that going for them. They have the same general it's basically, you look at them, it's like, oh, it's Brady reincarnated. We've got the guy again. That's what they're pushing. That's what they're trying to say. And the media, like, listen, we can spend the next 3 years talking about the media and how they cover things and how we don't appreciate how we keep getting overlooked when we're talking about Miami sports. It's always the same thing. It's not a good market in Miami. They know that, and they're going to go ahead and go for New England because New England, everybody always talks about them. So with that in mind, as far as Mac Jones specifically in the New England Patriots, yes, that has much to do with the parallels that draws from Tom Brady. Bill Belichick is a 7-time Super Bowl not 6 times. I'm sorry, because Tom Brady's 7. Yeah. It's like I almost forgot. I can't. You see, that's got the kind of the mentality though. It's very hard to separate the two.
It is.
Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, even with Brady now in Tampa Bay, you still think of them as one unit almost. And now Mac Jones is basically taking that spot that Brady had, and now it's going to be, oh, well, Mac Jones and Bill Belichick, because Belichick is still a genius, is he not? Are we going to suddenly doubt Bill Belichick? Of course you're not going to suddenly doubt Bill Belichick. He's aiming for Don Shula's winningest coach record, which I don't know if he'll eventually make it. Depends on how many more years he decides to coach. I think, unfortunately, he eventually will, because I don't see him retiring anytime soon. So with that in mind, of course, they're going to say, oh, well, he'll just turn Mac Jones into the next Tom Brady. But the thing is that they've been doing this for years now, right? When Ryan Mallett was the guy, he was going to be the next Tom Brady. When they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo, he was going to be the next Tom Brady. That didn't happen either. So now it's Mac Jones's turn on the on the roulette.
Louis D. Sung from the 5 Reasons Sports Network is with us. How would you like to see schematically the Miami Dolphins approaching facing a rookie quarterback? Because obviously there's a lot different about Mac Jones from Cam Newton. Cam Newton was so much more of a running threat. Jones does not offer that. From everything that I hear, like I'm not expecting Jones to be clueless, because there was even a report that came out from New England circles that claims that he was like actually teaching the playbook to Cam Newton. So apparently he's a whiz and he understands the playbook. So still though, taking those first reps with live bullets in an NFL regular season game is going to be different. So how would you as a defense approach a rookie quarterback getting his first start?
Well, the thing is that it's very interesting, because I said this on the Pulse of Fins Nation just yesterday with a couple days ago with Ron. And basically what we discussed was it's very simple. We need to just kind of try to confuse this kid. But the thing about it is that it's not going to be as easy as it will be for other teams, because remember where Brian Flores comes from. Brian Flores comes from that New England style defense, that whole amoeba that we love so much, all that stuff. Now, there is one thing that Miami does that New England doesn't do quite so often, and it's that whole zero blitz thing, get in his face. Like I saw the comment just now from Ray Grulon, who basically said, yeah, blitz the ever living crap out of Mac Jones. But you can't do that right off the bat.
Yeah.
You can't start by going cover zero and letting Xavier Howard and Byron Jones go on islands with their receivers, because if you start off by showing your hand, then you don't know what the game's going to go for. Like, you can start off aggressive, but it would be nice to have some points on the board before you do that. I think ultimately that's how you beat Mac Jones. You attack him and you get him off his balance. If anybody knows Mac Jones's weakness, it would be Tua. Anybody knows his weakness.
And we need Jalen Waddle, because Jalen Waddle caught, and he was injured last year, but he caught passes from Jones, played with him a lot. So yeah, we need to be the same way we were worried about Malcolm Perry getting his brain mined by Belichick. We need Flores to get into the brain of Jalen Waddle and give him everything on Mac.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, because it's a very different thing with Malcolm Perry. It's what kind of schemes do you know? Like what have you learned about how they function? With Mac, it's just what's this individual's weakness, and that's why my good friend Ron, who is my co-host for Pulse, he's basically saying like, listen, like he suspects that they're going to run the ball a lot. Like they're just going to grab their 2 tight ends and they're going to be extra blockers and they're just going to ram it down their throats. So, and I'm not as worried about that as Ron is, because while I'm looking at the tight ends, you got Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. Yeah, they're good. They're not Gronk. They're not Hernandez, but they're good. But I'm not necessarily sweating them. I think Eric Rowe could easily take care of them if they go out for routes. Now, if you're talking about blocking, well, that's what Miami did. They made it so that with the way that their defense functions, if you really needed to, you could put 7 guys in the box and you would still be okay, because you still have Howard, Jones, Eric Rowe is out there too, and they're taking care of their business. And Raekwon Davis as a nose tackle is dangerous. You still kept John Jenkins, who is himself a massive run stuffer. And then, of course, you have Landon Roberts, who also knows how that defense functions from his time in New England. So there's a lot. We're going to see 2 clones battling against each other next week, and even right down to the quarterback position, because again, they came from that same system. Yeah. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be like a case study in who has the better idea of how to run a football team.
Who does New England better, New England or Miami? We're gonna find that out. So the week 1 depth chart came out, and RIP to Juan Cardona, because when he saw number 19 starting kick returner, starting punt returner, and starting wide receiver, Jakeem Grant is starting at half the positions. Now listen, like I don't the wide receiver thing, I don't take it that seriously, because to me, like, who's starting does not matter as much as who gets more snaps. And I do not believe Jakeem Grant will be top 3 in snaps at that position. But what did you make? We'll start with wide receiver in Jakeem Grant starting over Mac Hollins and over Albert Wilson, like him holding down a starting spot.
It's an emotional reaction that needs no further comment, quite frankly. As far as I'm concerned, Jakeem Grant, him being on the starting unit, if anybody really, truly fooled themselves into thinking that Grant was going to be relegated to only special teams work, I don't know what to tell them. Their hatred for Jakeem Grant has gone above and beyond what is reasonable. This man is not a bad football player, okay? He's an all-pro returner. He can make plays when he gets his hands on the ball. He just drops the ball too much. Preston Williams does the same thing. I don't see anybody calling for his head. You and I have gone over this many times already on this show. So I'm not stressing it. It's whatever. It's going to be a lot of Albert Wilson. It's going to be a lot of Devontae Parker. Once Will Fuller gets in there, it's going to be a lot of him.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because in my opening monologue, we talked about the depth chart, and I neglected to mention that let's also not forget Will Fuller, not available week 1. He's going to be in the picture week 2 on.
And so like I said, Jakeem Grant's job is to run down the field. Let him run down the field. Who cares, man? And maybe he will catch one, and then we'll all be singing his praise and then saying, "Oh, let's bring him back next year." That's how it always works. It's a "What have you done for me now" league. What have you done for me now? If he somehow doesn't drop a single pass all season long, which I don't think will happen. I expect him to drop some passes, by the way. But if he did that, I don't think he would. I think he would regain his respect from the fan base. They would remember, oh yeah, we actually like this guy. That's how it always is. What have you done for me lately?
Louis D. Sung is with us. So did anything else jump out at you? And also, do we have any firm update on Austin Jackson? Because we know Shaheen is definitely out because he's unvaccinated. So could Jackson play Sunday? And if he doesn't, how much faith do you have in Greg Little?
So I don't think there's any guarantee that Jackson won't play yet. I think they're going to keep an eye on that very carefully. But even if he doesn't, like I said, Miami has a couple of options. It's not just Greg Little, just throw him in there. There's also the possibility that you could have Jesse Davis go to left tackle, and you could put Liam Eichenberg at right tackle. Or the other option is that you put Liam Eichenberg at left tackle because, by the way, that's what he played while he was in college, and he was pretty darn good at it. Now, granted, he has not trained at left tackle during camp and preseason. So now if you do that, you're going to throw him in cold. So I don't think that'll be the plan. I think, if anything, if Greg Little does not get the nod, it will be Davis at left tackle and Eichenberg at right tackle. But if Austin Jackson does play, then, you know, it was Chris Kaufman who basically said that he wouldn't be surprised if Greg Little took the job and never gave it back. That kind of says really bad things about Austin Jackson, about how he's been playing. Yeah. I'm a little concerned about that. That being said, as far as the depth chart, I'm going to be honest with you, Donno. I didn't even read it. And you know why I didn't read it? Because it doesn't matter.
I memorized it personally.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just like Jakeem Grant doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Jalen Phillips is on the third team.
Yes,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, and I wanted to, and Jalen Phillips, I wanted to ask you, he is a third team linebacker, but the coaches are very high on him. So that is not indicative of the role he's going to play this year. Would you agree with that?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. That's why I didn't even bother to read it, because the depth chart is irrelevant in Miami, just like it's irrelevant in New England. Guys play and they rotate in and out all the dang gone time. So when you see Jalen Phillips on the third team, it's just like, oh, well, they'll just let him blitz every once in a while, because that was the plan initially. We all knew this. It's not like we didn't assume that he was just going to be the best player in the whole team right away. He was going to be under Van Ginkel. He was going to be under these guys. We knew this, and that was going to be the plan. Third team, whatever, he'll get some passing downs because that was the plan initially, at least in my mind. I had hoped that he would have been so incredibly amazing that he would just give nobody any choice, but that doesn't usually go that way with rookies. Now, Javon Holland, I'm sure he'll get his snaps. I'm sure Brandon Jones is going to get his snaps. I'm sure that all these guys will eventually get their snaps. Just like you want to talk about the running back depth chart, you think that Myles Gaskin's going to start every game? You think Savon Ahmed's going to start every game? Do you think that anybody's going to start every single game? Nope. The only one who has this guaranteed starting spot is Tua and most of the offensive linemen. And even then, it's just like, whatever.
All right, I got to put you on the spot. I know it's early in the week, but since you join me on Tuesdays, we'll do it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Prediction, Miami, New England. Who wins by how much?
I predicted that Miami would win. I don't remember specifically what I said on Pulse of Fins Nation as far as my score, but since you're putting me on the spot, I'll go ahead and say 27-24 in Miami's favor. Again, unlike my friend Ron, I'm not scared of New England anymore, and I'm certainly not scared of Mac Jones. He's not Tom Brady, and even if he was Tom Brady, let's be honest about something. We've beaten Brady before.
Yeah,
we've beaten Brady.
Actually, a lot. Like we would usually split with the Patriots every year.
We beat Tom Brady in New England in 2019 when the Dolphins roster was at its least talented level we have seen in decades. So I am not scared of a ramped up roster in Miami in dealing with Mac Jones. And that's it. It's like, is that Manny scared of Belichick, the teacher? Okay, you know what, Manny? We beat Belichick, the teacher, in 2019 with Tom Brady and all their special people. I'm not scared of New England. I'm just not. They're not the beast they once were.
Why is Ron scared of New England? Just the Belichick reputation?
It's not the reputation. It's more along the lines of he's not convinced the run defense will be good enough. He's convinced that they'll run it down their throats. But again, that's why I'm not necessarily worried about that either. I think that we are going to go ahead talk about again Raekwon Davis, Landon Roberts, stack the box, force Mac Jones to win the game for them. And if you force Mac Jones to win the game for you, well, then it comes down to a point of who's the better quarterback. So do you trust Tua more or do you trust Mac Jones? Because both guys, let's be clear about something. Tua's going to be facing talent. Tua's going to be facing pressure. That offensive line, I don't trust it. So Tua's going to be facing pressure, but so is Mac Jones because we're going to bring the pressure.
And I like that comment, by the way, there from Bishop Sycamore's finest. Mac Jones is definitely not Tua. Steve Sarkisian, Bama OC, has said that Tua is the best signal caller he's ever coached.
And Jalen Waddle was on record once saying that he would prefer Mac Jones over Tua. So, I mean, you know what? It goes back and forth. No. Remember Peyton Manning saying that Adam Gase was a genius? Did that happen?
How much did he pay him to say that? Like, was that like Cameo? Like, did he go on Peyton Manning's Cameo? He's like, Peyton, I will give you $800 just to say that I'm a genius, so I can get some jobs.
I'm not impressed. Not impressed. It's what if let's see it happen before I'm going to get scared of them. I'm not worried about it. I think Miami will win. It's going to be tough because New England's always tough, but yeah, absolutely. I expect a win.
I love it. Well, Louis D. Sung, excellent work as always, sir. When's the next time we can see you, hear you, or read you on the 5 Reasons Sports Network?
So I will continue to be writing articles throughout the week. I will also be joining for the post-game show after the game as the host. I will also be doing a Pulse of Fins Nation with my good friend Ron after the day after the game to kind of gauge the pulse of Fins Nation. So anybody who wants to vent their frustrations or celebrate in a dramatic victory, you can feel free to go ahead and pop on there. We will be taking all comments and all questions.
Beautiful. Have a wonderful week, Louis, and I'm sure we will be in each other's mentions between now and Sunday, come hell or high water. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Donno. You too.
Awesome stuff there, guys. I want to let you know it's almost go time. And I think honestly, this is the way the pros do it. Like the people who actually know fantasy football, they wait until the final couple days to draft. Like I've got a fantasy draft tonight. Tomorrow is also perfectly acceptable. The season starts on Thursday. If you're looking for a unique way to play fantasy football, and I promise you're going to love it, check out Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes. Because why not treat yourself to a big cash prize? On Underdog Fantasy, you just draft. No need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles all of that for you. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download their app, draft a season-long best ball team, and that's it. No in-season management. They're going to give you, by the way, $25 when you sign up so you can take a free shot at a $1 million grand prize in their fantasy football tournament. That's right. You can get a free $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use our code. You see it there on the screen, 5RSN, when you make your first deposit. I love Underdog Fantasy because it's so easy to use. The mobile app is slick. The website is user-friendly. So do what I've been doing. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, join a league, draft a team, and that's it. You're good for the season. Remember, go to UnderdogFantasy.com, the App Store or Google Play. Sign up with our code 5RSN and get a free $25 in bonus cash. You will be living so good if you do that. A couple of other miscellaneous pieces of news before we wrap up this episode of Donno Daily. Jake Paul is getting a little desperate. Like he beat Tyron Woodley by split decision. He still doesn't want to fight real boxers, right? He's looking for celebrities to fight or people who are engaging in other combat sports, not actual boxing. The latest person to get called out by Jake Paul, he called out Tom Brady. He went there. Tom Brady. Mulligan on that one, folks. He called out Tim Tebow. I think Tom Brady could kick his ass. Tebow probably could as well. He called out Tim Tebow is the person who Jake Paul called out. Now, that's a weird Freudian slip to say Tom Brady instead of Tim Tebow. Now, it's not going to happen because Tim Tebow, maybe Tom Brady would say yes. Tim Tebow did not. Tim Tebow turned his ass down. He said, quote, I don't think there's much of a shot for that. That's Tebow's way of saying hell no. He's very polite, Tim Tebow. For Tebow to say, I don't think there's much of a shot for that, that means no. I don't think that's where I'm going to be going to head next. Gator Nation will destroy Jake Paul. Absolutely. So Jake Paul swing and a miss. He called out Timmy Tebow. Timmy Tebow said no. I found this to be really interesting. So we covered last week the whole Bishop Sycamore fiasco, and I was really impressed because it's not even a real high school. They conned their way into playing IMG Academy on national TV. Paul should call out Manny Diaz, they say. Oh, Diaz would destroy him. I'm not even worried about that. Diaz would dismantle him. Rhett Lashley, too, the same thing. So Bishop Sycamore, they fired their head coach last week after they got blown out 58-0 by IMG Academy. And this is a rare piece of honesty. I was not expecting this. The new Bishop Sycamore head coach, Tyron Jackson, who took over following Leroy Johnson's dismissal, he answered some questions facing his program in an interview with NBC4. I'm guessing that's probably in Ohio, a local station there. So he actually set the record straight on one thing. He said on the record, Bishop Sycamore is not a school. Quote, we do not offer a curriculum, he said. We are not a school. That's not what Bishop Sycamore is. And I think that's what was the biggest misconception about us was, and that is our fault. No kidding. It's your you called yourself a high school. It's not a school because that was a mistake on paperwork. Okay, was it a mistake on paperwork or was it a lie on your paperwork because you wanted to play IMG on ESPN? Per NBC4, Bishop Sycamore was classified by the state of Ohio as a quote-unquote non-charter, non-tax supported school during the previous school year. Jackson, who reportedly describes his program as, quote, a post-grad football academy, said the paperwork mistake that led to Bishop Sycamore being classified as a school occurred before he was hired 7 months ago. So blame it on somebody else. Good strategy. When pressed on a past report that Bishop Sycamore has an actual bell schedule and building address associated with his name, Jackson had this to say, quote, right, and I don't know anything about that. I won't speak on stuff I don't know about. Like I said, if it was something that happened like that, then that's terrible. That's not how you do business. So they write in this report, if Bishop Sycamore really did misrepresent itself to the authorities as a school, then even the program's head coach is now denouncing it. So this is wild. So the coach is actually admitting we are not a school. We do not have a curriculum. He called it a postgraduate football academy. So what does it mean then? So you're telling me adults of any age just sign up and pay money to put pads and helmets on and play. So it's basically like a social club. Like what like Sean, like what if it's not a school, then what is it?
No, but it's for, I guess, apparently high school kids that want to continue on. But if you're an academy, you lost 58-0 to IMG, but then Friday you also lost to another high school. You've lost to two high schools in a weekend, and you're supposed to be a football academy? Who are you signing?
It's a bunch of like junior college rejects, apparently. Like you're signing guys who, you know, maybe some of them were decent high school players, but then tried to play junior college and flamed out.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Manny Changs running around out there in trucks.
So that's wild. So they've actually, and honestly, this is one of the greatest con jobs ever. And somebody knew what they were doing. Oh man, he's giving you the mean mug now. Because first of all, when you name your academy Bishop Sycamore, when there is no bishop named Sycamore, like right there, you know it's a troll job. At least find a real bishop. Like at least find an actual bishop. So this was such a brilliant troll from minute one. They came out with a completely ridiculous, irrelevant name for this school because there is no Bishop Sycamore. So I think that's an incredible place to start this. So I don't know, man. Listen, if they're looking for a new head coach after this one fails, Sean Stanley's available. I'd like to see you try.
Coordinator, baby, right here.
OC, man. OC. So real quick, again, I love how Manny's on-air contribution today has just been, and he does a lot behind the scenes, of course, but his on-air contribution today has just been mean faces he's making at Sean Stanley.
True Gator.
He's a true Florida Gator who's also
or whatever else he is.
He's also a former Florida State fan and a former Miami fan. He's going to be a UCF fan pretty soon. He's going to be holding national championship parades.
If they hire me and it pays the bills.
And and FIU as well. And he, legitimately, he's
FIU for life.
Yeah.
FIU for life.
So like the only
I was a part of that staff when we beat Miami. Greatest moment of my life. I went up to
worst moment of mine.
Said, "Great game, coach."
Yeah, that was the absolute worst. That was the low point of my life. It was when Miami lost to FIU. I couldn't log on to social media for days after that. I couldn't take the heat. I want to remind everybody that we have a little over 48 hours until football season begins. If you want to get in on the action this football season, you want to sign up at our official sports book here for Donno Daily, betus.com. They've been around for almost 30 years. They're entering their 27th NFL season. They are known as America's favorite sports book because their customer service is great. They have action on anything you can imagine, including, of course, NFL football. So if you want to get in on the action this football season, and by the way, just FYIs for this coming weekend, the Miami Dolphins are a 3-point underdog at New England, which is pretty standard stuff on the road. The home team gets 3 points. So it's basically a pick 'em is what Vegas is saying there. So you can lock in the Dolphins at +3, or if you're so inclined to say the Dolphins are going to win that game outright, I want to lock in the Dolphins on the money line. You get sweet odds on that at BetUS, +135 on the money line. So if you bet $100 on the Dolphins and the Dolphins win, you get your bet back plus $135. Not too shabby, my friends. Miami Hurricanes this week are an 8-point favorite against Appalachian State. So Miami -8. So if your sphincters are a little bit tight after what happened against Alabama, you think App State actually has a chance, God forbid. But if you think Miami is going to come back with vengeance and blow out App State at home, -8 is not a bad number, I think. So you can get that action and so much more at betus.com. Sign up and make your first deposit with our code 5RSN125 and get a 125% sign up bonus. And make sure you use our code because A, you get a sweet bonus with our code, and B, it gives Donno Daily credit for your sign up. So make sure you do the right thing and use our code 5RSN125. Huge thanks to Louis D. Sung for joining us. Big thanks to Brady Hawk. And of course, we got our pro wrestling fanatic, Sean Stanley, and Gators fanatic, Manny Chang. Huge thanks to both of them for making the show go. We're going to talk to you guys again tomorrow, same time, same network here, 12 noon on the 5 Reasons Sports Network for another episode of Donno Daily. Ciao.